Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the right place at the right hour. You are on your own screen and see the most interesting people instead of any commercials or Netflix or Prime looking programs. Yes, you are with the CRM Convo, and we have a top hit for today for you, as we could win Josh Greenbaum to join us and make us the four musketeers of looking into the magical crystal ball where the future of SAP might lie in the good old historical approach, vadis SAP. And unfortunately, I'm not Peter Ustinov as St. Peter, which is giving the right advice, but I did my homework. So, Josh, it would be fantastic if you share with the audience what enterprise application consulting is doing, so from the early morning to the late night, and what you in specific have for interesting other things to do, such as your hobbies, some stuff of former business lives, or where your heart is beating for. Now there should be the camera there where the heart should be. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Ralph. And by the way, thank you for inviting me to be the fourth musketeer. That's quite an honor.
At least we are not the other four who spell the doom of CRM.
Oh yes, well. So anyway, it's great to be here. You see my notes, like self-introduction, Josh. So I am Josh Greenbaum. I'm the head of enterprise applications consulting. I am enterprise applications consulting. And lately I've been describing myself as a translator. So I'm someone who speaks techie engineering. I'm someone who speaks human. And I try to get the two to understand each other. I think, a lot of the mentality in engineering is that the software is perfect. It's just those stupid humans that get in the way. And a lot of the mentality in the user community is this stuff sucks. Why can't we do it the way we did it for the last 20 years? I hate technology change. So I try to get in between that. And then, of course, ultimately helping marketers and other folks, articulate intelligent strategies for customers, and then help the customers understand what the heck they're trying to say. So it's a lot of fun. And I think, like all of us here today, they keep getting it wrong. They've been getting it wrong for 30 years, and I've been having a career as a result. So it's been great. One of the things I do other than this night, because I certainly don't sundown to sunset do enterprise application consulting. It is fall in Berkeley, California. My apple trees are full of trees of apples, and I've been making cider.
Hey, that's cool.
Thank you. I think it's pretty cool too. It's actually delicious. I bought a little cider press and a masher, and I've been traveling a lot, but I have a week. I have a cider Sunday neighborhood gathering anytime I'm around, and we had one right before I went out of the way and made about 8 gallons.
Stupid question. Is Cider Sunday just before Cyber Monday?
Cider. No, we don't do cyber. It is the most analog thing you can do. It's so wonderful. There's no technology involved at all. The hardest, it's messy, it's sticky, it's good, it's delicious.
So is it alcoholic cider or American style?
Oh no, I call it cider because I grew up downstream, literally from a cider mill.
So cloudy apple juice.
But it's really it's pressed apple juice, and it's
delicious.
so delicious that I don't wait for it to ferment. We usually just drink it right away anyway. So.
Yeah, and I absolutely embrace this, as we own some apple trees, and we also press the apples to get apple juice. And a collective exercise, such as we have fun in collecting the apples, my wife's job. Then we have fun in pressing the stuff, our service organization's job. And we have fun in drinking, my part, and consuming. Yeah, so that's a fair share of the work. And if it's fermenting and it's more in what you can buy also in the shops at small bottles or larger bottles, wherever you go for French style or with an extra prickle in it.
Yeah.
It's something I honestly like very much, and I'm a big fan of. So this is the top first point we have in our conversation. What do you serve for that you get not totally excited on only the apples? Do you grill a bit, or what would you eat beside of the cider and the apple juice?
What would I accompany the cider with? Or
yeah,
Food.
as if you have such an event where you have all the merry people drinking, and if you don't want to get them completely dancing, then some eating could be useful.
Yes. Well, the last time I did this, actually, a friend of mine brought what we call a charcuterie kind of plate of different things to nibble on. And it was good because there's a lot of work involved, and you don't want to just drink a lot of high sugar cider when you do that.
No, you got to add cheese and meat to it.
Say that again, Marshall.
You got to add cheese and meat to it.
Cheese and
living.
crackers. Anyway.
Yeah.
But it's fun. It's mostly just to have fun. The rule is you make it, you take it. So bring your bottles, make your cider, take it home.
Yeah,
it's great. It's a lot of fun.
Fantastic. Now, from that approach, which is a bit mid-market, small, medium enterprise, a lot of fun and enjoying life, I had a bit of feeling that our friends in Waldorf tried very hard to please a broad range of customers. Enterprise, they were always good, and they have their marketing claims. The best businesses run SAP, successful businesses run SAP. But for the smaller entities, at least for the mid-market, they have had several approaches, investments, if it's business by design, business one, or even a package of a stripped down R3 version for dedicated sectors, and it didn't rock off. So what would be the option to make it fly instead of make it die?
And it's funny because obviously Grow was the latest sort of brainstorm. Because Rise was so successful, and I'm saying that with tremendous sarcasm, which we'll get to that later.
Okay,
but,
sarcasm. That's good.
Yeah, but Grow is their latest attempt, and just in the last quarterly call last week. Was it last week? I've lost track of time. I've been traveling across time zones for 3 weeks. Well, I'll quote from the last quarterly report: over the last 3 quarters, 440 customers in over 80 countries have selected Grow. Now, I wouldn't brag about that personally if I was in front of a bunch of bean counting investors, because 440 divided by 80 is an average of 5.5 sales per country. Over 3 quarters. This is not a very successful strategy yet, and I have to say that it's again one of the problems SAP has in terms of its go-to-market strategy of talking very much at the high.
Is it me or is it him?
It's SAP.
It's SAP.
They heard where he was going and killed his feed.
Am I
Oh
dying?
man, and now you're back. It's
I'm
very
back.
much was about the last thing that we heard. So I didn't know that SAP has that much of a reach that they can just cut you off.
They just cut me off. Right. I just spared them then. We got to the point where there's
It's some kind of censorship. So
you might want to change your network, Josh.
This is what we had yesterday.
That's what we had yesterday, yeah. Maybe we should talk Microsoft. That makes it more stable, to make the stuff more stable.
Or just very small sentences dated between the breaks.
How am I doing now?
So far, you're good.
Okay. We'll work on that problem later. I thought I'd fixed it. So I was rambling about how Grow isn't successful, and then SAP cut me off.
Yeah.
But I think it's been a problem, and it's a problem because they market at the very high end. Their marketing message is very high end. It's very much focused rightly on a very large customer, and it's a little hard to do both successfully. And I think product wise, S/4HANA public cloud is suited for a relatively large, mid-sized company. I think it's hard for SAP to make that case sometimes.
Which is a challenge that not only they have, right? Scaling down is hard for big companies, isn't it?
It is. Most large enterprise software companies struggle with that. And again, I don't think it's a product problem. I think it's a perception problem, and then it's also a partner problem. And I think if you're going to really go down into the mid-market, you have to have a very strong partner ecosystem. You have to have a very successful one that really makes the case for smaller partners to work with you and your customers, and for it to be both safe and profitable. And I think that's, SAP's partner program is not necessarily the best. It's troubled and problematic. And I think that shows.
Would it be a fair statement that especially in the mid-market or upper mid-market, it is even more important to have a well-working industry play than in the enterprise market?
I think there's a philosophical question we could spend a lot of time on. I think at the end of the day, one of the great sort of realizations we've all had over the years is that for many small and mid-sized companies, their problems are just the same as very large companies. They're just slightly scaled back. But if you're looking at how do I transform, whether I'm a B2B or a B2C company, it doesn't matter whether I'm 50 million or 5 billion, I've got a lot of the same problems to deal with. Supply chain, and these are, I'll start this rant, Thomas. We talked about this when we were talking yesterday. There's, in my travels over the last 3 weeks, I've been at 4 different conferences, and there's 5 things that have really stood out at every single conference, every single company, every single industry, every single company has the same 5 problems. They have problems with data. Data is a big problem. They have problems with old, tired processes and the desperate need for new ones. They have a problem with their people. They have people problems. How do I hire, train, retain? How do I make sure I've got the right people at the right time? They have huge problems with risk and risk management. Whether you're regulated, truly highly regulated, or only semi-regulated, if you're working in the world right now, you've got all kinds of carbon accounting and ESG kind of regulations you've got to worry about. And the final is just spend. Everyone has to worry about how they spend money. This is universal. It doesn't matter how big you are or how small. I literally went from SAP's HR conference, Success Connect, to a very small conference of healthcare providers here in the U.S. I happen to be in Vegas, and there's the same issues, particularly about people. I was doing great hiring my direct care workers until Amazon opened a warehouse next door and stole them away. This stuff doesn't change whether you're big or small. You still, these are very, very universal problems.
But that sounds like it's not only a problem that SAP customers have, that applies the same to Oracle, Acumatica, and name any vendor.
Yeah.
So is there anything that SAP customers in particular have? Well, just looking at, we talked about Rise and Grow, or we mentioned Rise and Grow. How about something as particular as transforming or transferring from old style, in quotes, ECC6, some even run even older R3, and ECC6 is quite concurrent, so that's probably a mean statement, to S4? What prevents them from going to S4 or even S4 Cloud?
The great thing about talking about the SAP customer base is that it's so many different kinds of companies and sizes of companies. And problem sets that I drew those 5 universal concepts out because I think they are sort of universal. But when you start looking at exactly what you said, why aren't companies moving to S4? The range of reasons is extraordinary. For some, and this is the sort of the back of the envelope calculation I keep threatening to do, and maybe I really should do it one day. Is if you take all the SAP instances that are not cloud, so we'll excuse for a minute the fact that there's S4 private cloud and it's on premise. Let's just say pre-S4. You take all of the pre-S4 instances in the world. You take all of the SAP consultants who can migrate stuff to to S4, and then you take all the money and creation and you add that all up together, and we'll never get to 2027 with everyone migrating anyway. So there's a fundamental problem that you're just never going to get there to begin with. But I think every company I talk to, my favorite example comes from an ASUG chemicals industry conference. A well-known paint company wants to go to S4. They understand that they've got to transform to be much more of a B2B2C or B2B or B2C. They have to really change the modalities and be much more direct to consumers and direct to their business customers. They want that front end experience. They want that human experience at the back end. But they have a fundamental problem. They've got a catalog with 1-something million different SKUs of the different permutations and combinations of paints and colors and types. And they know if they try to migrate that dog to S4HANA, they'll just be dumping a pile of bad data into a new system and they won't get what they want. So they've got to do that first. That's not an easy job. That's a job that isn't just about fixing a data problem. It's fixing a process problem. It's fixing a how do we go to market problem. It's fixing a literally how do we mix paint problem. They're ready, willing, and able to go to S4. They just can't do it now. They got to fix this thing first.
How locked in? Sorry.
Go ahead.
As you say, how locked in are those customers, though? If there's the possibility of them migrating to S4, that means they're in a situation where things are at least a little bit in flux, and they could be sniped by another vendor. Is there significant risk there?
I think when you get these big companies that have dozens, if not hundreds, of individual, R3, ECC, whatever you want to call it, instances, they're not going to change. They're not going to throw all that stuff out and get Oracle. That would be horrendous beyond belief. But they're not susceptible at that size company. Once you get down into the mid market, once you get down into the upper mid market or the lower enterprise market, where it's $1 to $5 billion in revenue, you don't have that big a footprint. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Marshall. I mean, you go to the well with SAP, and they give you this version of what the future looks like. It's not an upgrade; it's a re-implementation. And I think the smart thing to do is to look at. Can I do something else?
Isn't an S4 migration a re-implementation anyways? How many are doing brownfield and just lift and shift?
It's complicated.
Yeah, well,
you're right.
If we had easy questions, we wouldn't have asked you.
I know. A fair number of them are trying to do some version of brownfield, but you're absolutely right. I mean, when you're doing that degree of transformation, it behooves you to look at it as if it's almost a greenfield. That's the idea. I'm going to change from an old brick and mortar paint company to an online, e-commerce company. I'm going to have to change a lot, front end and back end. Yeah. The classic thing is, I can change the front end experience so that I can order the paint online and mix it online and see the colors, and then I got to walk in the store and be able to buy it. And if the supply chain and the logistics chain isn't set up to deliver that thing at the time I'm expecting it, then what have I done? I've given a front end promise that I can't fulfill on the back end. So you got to do. It's complicated. It takes a lot.
Yeah, it doesn't. There are lots of established processes, but that's why. Well, I hear not left, right, and center, but there are voices that are saying what prevents customers from going S4, in particular S4 Cloud, are two things: excessive customization and lacking cloud functionality. There we are back to industry cloud, not cloud, industry functionality, to be precise. Is that your perception as well, or what do you see when you talk to customers?
I think that there's a lot of industry-specific functionality in the SAP, the two S4 versions, and obviously public cloud goes relatively deep. but it's nothing. It's not the successor to what we saw in R3 and in ECC with these programs like IS Oil. That was sort of the quintessential. So you're going to have to, if you want that kind of functionality, that degree of specificity from your vendor, you're going to be at an S/4HANA private cloud. You may even be continuing to run some of the ECC stuff moving forward. And that's part of the complexity of the problem, is that and I've sat in the room with these customers as they're trying to say, okay, the thing that keeps the lights on and the regulator out of the door is this clean core. And it needs to be as clean as possible. And they get that. They know that there's a mess in the back office that just needs to be fixed. And moving forward, things like carbon accounting, whatever, need that clean core. And then there's just stuff, but that's table stakes. That's what everyone needs. It's what makes me competitive. What if I am, so at the Success Connect conference, we heard from 2 CHROs. One was, I won't say who they were, but they were 2 professional service organizations, very large, and they're looking at that. Their problem is not that any question about whether they're doing Success Factors wall to wall. It's how do they take that and then innovate on top of it, and that part of and then innovate on top adds a lot of complexity to the question. In their case, of indeed, how do we get our S4 synchronized with our Success Factors implementation? Again, the thing that I think SAP should get a little more credit for, though not too much, we don't want to coddle them, is that they have the most complex customer base in the industry for the most part. And those customers, and this is a thing I always like to say, SAP tries to a little too hard to sort of adhere to this false orthodoxy that everything has to be cloud and that cloud product has to be SaaS. And if it isn't SaaS cloud, it's ugly and stupid and bad. And so they sort of hide this fact that actually a huge number of their customers, probably the majority of the installed base, is not public cloud at all. They're private cloud S/4HANA if they've gone anywhere. That's the glass half empty. I look at the glass half full and say, this is an extremely complex customer base. What they've been doing, in this industry for 30 plus years has allowed companies to evolve to be very complex players in this global economy. They have complex needs. The glass half full version of what SAP does is they have more choice than any other vendor. How do you want to configure your system? You want some public cloud? If you need that SaaS, really, clean, super clean core, fit to standard, we're going to just tell you what the process is and you're going to salute and run it. We got that. If you want to take that 150-year-old chemical company and move forward with it, in a more evolutionary way, knowing that all those incredibly difficult things you're doing in your back office across 120 countries is cared for. Yeah, SAP can do that too. That's not going to be a public SaaS cloud offering anyway. That's going to be something a little more complex, and you're going to have to add customizations as well. Really, yeah. So it's,
in the light of that, this is the perfect hook for friend John Reed's one of his famous questions, or most favorite questions. Not famous, but favorite. So, what is your take then on RISE being only for cloud, or getting innovations only if you are doing RISE, which implies cloud?
My head's going to explode when you ask.
No, I don't want you to explode. I just want you to drop off.
I'm here to say unequivocally that it's simply false that you need RISE to innovate. It's 100% false. It's an unfortunate message SAP's been saying. From the marketing side, the technology side knows different. People like us know different. It's, first starting with the fact that let's start with the problem with that statement. The problem with that statement that you need RISE to innovate is RISE is fundamentally about ERP. I mean, that's really what it's about. There's little add-ons here and there, and now they're adding the AI stuff, but RISE is really a vehicle for selling more ERP, which is, and therefore more ERP in the cloud, and that's supposed to make the investor community happy. ERP is no longer the center of innovation for a lot of customers. Or let me rephrase that. It is no longer the leading edge of innovation. Innovation. It's the center of innovation, but innovation is happening outside ERP in a lot of cases. That innovation is happening in the customer experiences. Innovation happening in the employee experiences. Ralph, you got a finger up. Yes.
That is in the statement of yes. It would be a thumbs up, to be honest. Not a question such as I agree that ERP is as innovative as in China. A sack of rice is falling to the side. I believe
that's going to be too cynical, right? Because the kind of if you look at the evolution of business process, a lot of the pre-SaaS, pre-e-commerce processes that were embedded in some of the ERP systems running the world today clearly need innovation, and you can't do that without a new ERP. So you're going to have that. I mean, that's the SAP's not wrong in saying S/4HANA should be core to your innovation strategy. It just isn't necessarily going to be the first thing you're going to want to do. So, and the good news, luckily, you don't have to. So that chemical company I described, they're moving forward with innovating, even though they're not moving on S/4 right away. They've got a lot of innovation they want to do. As they clean up this data mess, they are also starting to change the customer experience, starting to change how the commerce experience. And they can do that without S/4, without RISE, and get a whole lot of value.
They probably can do it because they have a stable core, right?
Because no. They don't have a stable core.
Now we are talking.
They have a 30-year-old messy core, but they know that they're moving. Here's the thing. The problem with RISE, in my view, among other things, is simply that it's really saying we are going to tell you how to innovate, A, and B, we're going to give you the timetable to innovate. We're going to do it our way. And for a lot of customers, they're fine. They want to innovate. They want to move to these concepts. They just can't do it the way in this manner that, quite to be very, very cynical, is more aligned with syncing up with SAP's need to show quarterly growth to Wall Street than it is for SAP's need to deliver value to customers. So I think that the good news is that SAP has this huge palette of technology that you can innovate with. A lot of it's not, I can do incredible things with business networks. Today, asset management, logistics management, I can innovate tremendously in that environment. If I'm an automotive manufacturer and I've got a robot on the floor and that robot goes down, in about 30 minutes, I'm starting to lose millions of dollars. Okay, that's enormous. I could innovate. I don't need S/4HANA to innovate the maintenance process for that robot, such that when that sucker goes down, I got a new robot in its place in under 30 minutes, or it doesn't even go down because I've improved my preventive maintenance. I've on that. There's a lot you can do without a stable core. You don't need stable core to do it. Next generation asset maintenance. It helps, but it's not a requirement.
Well, that being the case, where does the impression that SAP isn't innovative come from?
Lousy marketing, bad press, a tendency to go a little too deep into the weeds on technology and not explain things the way business people understand them. I told you all I'm a translator. I mean, I work in this problem.
Business is booming.
There's absolutely an amazing amount of innovation. You just go find the roadmaps. They're online. They're public domain. Look at what's going on all the time. They're very innovative. It's a sort of slanderous to say they're not, to be very frank.
Well, it's an impression.
Yeah.
Fortunately, impressions are sticky.
And unfortunately, if you dig in and look for, like, I'm a one-eyed, in the kingdom of the blind and I look for CRM and CX and I don't find it right on the spot, but I see a lot of buzz around topics which I'm not interested in, such as, not for a penny, I'm a bit distracted and I need guidance. I need the translator. I need the scout, to be precise, to show me where the CX and CRM bits and pieces to make customers even more happier, for the customers which are utilizing to deliver services and goods to their customers to make them happy. And that is a story I would like to listen to. I want to see into happy faces, not as they can fiddle around in a core like hell, which they still can manage better than anything which is coming up around the corner. Yeah,
let's put a shameless plug right here. End of November, you can hear this story right out of the horse's mouth because we have Ritu Bhargava.
Oh,
end of shameless plug.
Okay. All right, good. Well, now I got to be careful because whatever I say about CX, Ritu knows where to find me. But Ralph, you of course hit on the number one gap in the innovation strategy inside SAP has CX. CX has really been a problem child for a while, and it is clearly a glaring omission because and this is the mantra I learned at the beginning of the .com era. The .com era, everyone is
to say for a while.
What? I'm sorry.
In my experience with SAP CRM and CX, which dates back to 1995, there was only a short period where CRM was quite core to the SAP's mission. This was Bob Stutz's first stint.
The first Bob Stutz.
The first Bob Stutz, yeah, not the second one.
Right. No, it's been missing in action. I mean, just to say it quite honestly, and I think Bob Stutz 2.0. Well, there's been a lot of problems. Let's just say that. I think that, but fundamentally, to me, the opportunity for SAP and CX lies very much in the fact that CX is more and more dependent on complex end-to-end processes that span domains well outside the VP of sales or the VP of marketing's understanding and purview. And if SAP can, every time I talk to a supply chain VP who knows her stuff or his stuff, they say, my job is to deliver a product to a customer. Now they don't own the customer journey, but they are directly part of it. And in fact, that ship stuck in the Suez Canal, that boat not docking at the port of Oakland nearby me, that's a customer problem. So I think, and that's a problem SAP can solve potentially better than most, because SAP has the ERP knowledge. They have the planning engine, they have the business network, they've got the logistics network, they've got they've got all the pieces, and if you can string all these together with CX in the front end here and literally raw resource extraction from the ground out here and pull that all together, you can do something no one else can do. So I think the opportunity is there, right? And of course it's all in the execution. I mean, you can now ask, when you get Ritu on here, you can ask her, how the hell are you going to do all that? Because it's hard. It's hard to describe those end-to-end processes. It's hard to sell them because no one owns the whole process, and the silos that SAP inadvertently created and the big analyst firms have continued to exacerbate make it hard for the customers to have a integrated vision as well.
That boils down again to the hard to answer questions, right? So because if they are the ones who in all likelihood they stretch the whole value chain of a business, of most businesses. So part one is, the buying center for all these parts is different per part of the value chain. And the other one is, it's probably even different per industry. So how to overcome both of these challenges?
That's the challenge, right? I mean, it's hard. Who is that buyer? I mean, clearly, I think there's some. Say again.
Thank you, sir. And exactly that is me in the role of the advocate or the devil's advocate in here. That why
Okay,
for
you take my
30
role.
years, why for 30 years they are not capable of visualizing the buying center we are talking to and help our sales reps and marketingers to do a better job.
I think
There you
it's, gosh, that's a whole other hour-long discussion. I think fundamentally, selling an end-to-end, a complex end-to-end process that spans these silos is very hard to do. It's much easier to do what you've always done, to sort of get up in the morning, scratch a little, and go, I'm going to sell some ERP technology to a CIO, make my quota, call it a day. And, this is a largely, in a way, an artifact of the problems endemic to sales and marketing, not necessarily to technology. But again, you have to have someone to talk to. And, more and more the big question, whether you're SAP or UiPath or ServiceNow or anybody, is who do I go to talk about this integrated vision? And it's, the COO, maybe, Chief Digital Officer, maybe, CFO, definitely, if you can get in his or her door. It's hard to find that integrated, that buying center. So you kind of have to do it all at once. You have to sell in a vision for an end-to-end process. You have to sell the CX part to the CX side. You have to sell the supply chain part to the supply chain side. And you have to make sure that they know that the other one gets benefit as well. This is not what the average, I'm going to be very blunt, what the average sort of quota-carrying sales rep wants or knows how to do very well. It's complicated.
And it's a kind of, what's necessary is a divide and conquer, right? Because the supply chain part, you speak to person buying center A, which is very much visualizable in SAP. And for the sales, it's buying center B, service C, finance D. So, but
And pretty soon you're going, God, well, I'm just going to go sell some ERP to a CIO. I need to make quota.
yeah, which is the usual way that SAP goes, which they can't get away from since, basically forever, right?
And that's how we get to Rise. Rise is supposedly a way to bundle that offering and make it easier for the rep to walk in and say, here's my list of stuff, and it's mostly focused on your ERP. Rise does not deal with end-to-end process. Rise, you're not going to sell a CX end-to-end process on a Rise contract. There's too much complexity there. Rise isn't built for that.
And I would like to put the finger on that part, such as if you see in the different industry solution packs and the industry solution needs the different approaches in seeing the buyer persona, seeing for the customer journey, and seeing the buying center as the decision makers. The one is you want to sell to, the one is you want to deliver to. And that I believe that there are some solutions in the market which do this very nicely for a fair price of money. So if I do not want to do it myself, then for the heck of the good ones, please buy it. Yeah, there are these solutions in the market, and there are some companies I know which have decided, okay, for what I do need, I do not need SD or something fashy glossy. I buy myself a Cobra CRM as front end and make a connection to a Cobra CRM for the American market. It's a very nicely 30-year-old solid standard CRM solution which has its name, such as could be Sugar, it could be Salesforce, could be all the other solutions which have plugins and addictions and add-ins developed to SAP because they support the thought what SAP is doing not as our customers would like to see, we can deliver. So let's make it work together. But I take the point that I have no doubts if SAP put money and brains in it, they could do it, and they even could do it smarter, better, and even more sexier. Yeah, but I don't see
More
it.
sexier, I don't know, but let's definitely smarter and better. I don't think Waldorf is the place for. Well, I'll stop. No, but you're right. I think the execution is there. I think Ritu's group in CX is doing some very interesting work on the core industries that they're focusing on. I think it's quite intelligent that they're trying to come back. She's trying to come back from this 30-year deficit, 20-plus year deficit in CX, and focus on some core industries and focus on the installed base, where there is a potential advantage if you're already running S4, if you're already running Fieldglass, Ariba, if you're running some of these other moving pieces, if you string them together, that story can make a lot of sense. So I think it's a good strategy. It's got to, there's a lot of product that has to be built, and there has to be a lot of good stories to tell. Telling the stories is hard, and that's been part of the challenge.
Isn't that a defensive strategy? Just protecting the market?
Yeah, I think you can call it that. I think it's but any good defense is has a strong offense associated with it. And
what's the offense then?
The offense is that these customers need innovation. Whether they're going to get it from SAP or Salesforce or somebody or Cobra, whoever, they do need the innovation. The opportunity is there. They're not trying to, they play their cards right. This isn't a force. This isn't a, buy my software else. This should be hey, we have a really cool opportunity. And the customers need it. They're hungry. That's for sure.
Yeah. And I asked some partners in another conversation when Thomas was sailing, a chap knowledgeable in the SAP world, as he has been in 3 different companies, very much SAP driven, Robert. And he said he is looking forward not only to tomorrow, as there is the big announcement on CX Live, what they are going to deliver, but also on what he knows as a partner, that he trusts that SAP is not neglecting that area, but it's taking a bit like in the old days when I was joking around why you should better buy my Sun account solution instead of SAP, because I'm faster, I'm a speed towards a super tanker. Yeah, and I have now my super tanker moment again in looking at SAP. Why is it so Swiss? Why is it so slow?
Is it slow? Are they slow?
CX-wise, I have to be fair. Yeah,
it's really all the world. Life is a trade-off between complexity and speed all the time.
Yeah.
You want it simple and fast. Yeah. You want it big and complex. You want it administration. You want it super small. You're going to pay 10 times more than the thing that's life size. I think so. So the expectation that it's all going to that a company like SAP can innovate the front end. Let's talk about that. The consumer experience, as well as a small startup. That's been hard for SAP to do. They don't think that way. That small startup in the CX world, on the other hand, is going to have trouble providing anything resembling the ability to manage that end-to-end process and deal with the problem of the VP of supply chain who wants to be delivering to the customer. And so there are trade-offs. Nothing is simple. Thank goodness, because if it were simple, what would we be doing? We'd all have other jobs. Let's face it.
If at all.
we couldn't translate.
If we could be employed, yeah.
But looking at this offense versus defense thing once more a bit. So yes, the offense, the opportunity. I'd say the opportunity is the need for innovation. But if I'm ring fencing and collecting my wagons around and circling my wagons around my customers, my existing customers, I don't see how this opportunity is leveraged.
Well, I think we all agree that SAP has a lot to prove in CX. They just, and the best place to prove it to start is with the existing customers. There's been a lot of we know this, right? We've been disappointed. They've been disappointed. Everyone's been disappointed in this thing called CX. I do think Ritu's on the right track. I've spent some time with her, watching what she's doing, and I think it's a smart strategy to start. If you're going to start cooking some new food, serve it to your family first. If someone gets poisoned, it's better than poisoning your guests. That's a very bad metaphor.
Well, if you poison your guests, then at least your family stays behind.
That is an interesting statement. I make a quote on this.
Yeah. Well,
let the family test first instead of poisoning the guests. Yes.
Step one: poison your family. Good advice.
They'll be okay. It's just a bad. They have one bad day. No, but I think it's smart to really go where this. Because if you walk cold call, a company that's never heard of SAP, and you say SAP CRM or CX, they're going to go, what? Who? Huh? That's not going to work anyway. That's just too hard. The cost of sales is going to be high. So start where you can at least get a hearing, and move from there. I think that's a good way to go. And frankly, they got to prove it. Slideware won't cut it anyway. So get those big customer wins, and then walk into the rest of the industries that you want to tackle and say, here we go.
There we are probably touching one of the other challenges that SAP has. So they're, in my eyes, not talking enough of the good that they are doing. So, I mean, if a CX person says, hey, there's this great win, so we have got great stuff, then, well, I'm of course biased, or that person is of course biased. So how to get other people talking about that or talk about that?
The problem, I mean, it's super challenging to market in the CX CRM world, because there's this guy with this big tower across the bay from me, and he's so damn good at it, and he makes everyone look stupid. As much as I'm not a fan of Salesforce on certain levels, you got to hand it to them. They know how to do that better than anyone else. And Mark singularly, I mean, you look at the balance, you look at the account, you look at the money side of Salesforce. Just so many years, they just spent everything on marketing, and it worked.
Yeah,
I don't think SAP has the stomach for that kind of marketing, and I think that's always been a problem.
Okay, apart from becoming a marketing company with a attached development department, what can one learn from Mark, or should one learn from him?
Well, I think I'll tell you a couple of things. One that I really think SAP should learn and could learn and must learn. Mark actually did a decent job with partners and with the partner ecosystem. I've had a personal experience with that, with a third-party company that actually built a tool that connected Salesforce to SAP ERP. And to be very blunt, the SAP partner organization couldn't give a rat's patootie. They were not interested. They didn't care. They didn't like it. Whatever. This company went over to Salesforce and got all the love.
There
and
he's
all
gone
the
again.
appreciation
They caught up to us again
with the others. Yes, I know that story, my friend. I know it exactly. But it could happen also with the big M, and I don't mean McDonald's. Yeah, and I experienced that as well. Yeah.
I think he's talking about a company that's in my vicinity here.
Whoopsie. Yeah. It is simply you put a finger in a wound which is existing. It's a human business, and if you have some smart technology which enables you to deliver better to a dedicated, very interesting potential clientele, you should use the foreign expertise and enrich your own one. And for that path, you need an organization. And sorry for saying so, it's not the stomach, it's the money. Yeah, you have to have the brains, you have to have the people and the skill. What you mentioned as the 5 problems which you came over on your conferences, going over the bandwidth of all the organizations you talk to. That is fascinating, that it is a well-known problem to a certain extent. It's not new, but it's not taken care of if you run for your venture capital's shareholder value story.
Yeah. There's a lot of fundamental problems with the industry, independent of anyone's individual desire to make a great product and sell it. I think there's these structural problems as well that really get in the way.
Yeah.
Digging into another one that is a favorite of John's as well as mine. So everybody is talking AI right now, and we probably tomorrow hear about generative AI more than we can stomach. Sorry for that. but
that's already the case. But yeah.
So now what we heard in the recent finance analyst call after last week's announcement of the numbers is that SAP finds it justified that for something that more or less is table stakes, meanwhile, having AI embedded in the functionality, providing value to the application or the solution that I buy, additional value, that they find it valuable to charge up to, his quote was up to 30% of additional funds. So how can that come across other than, sorry, a ripoff?
It just drives me nuts. I mean, when Christian Klein started making that statement 2 quarters ago during the quarterly call, I literally was on texting some of the folks at SAP going, what is he doing? What is he saying? Because let's turn that story around. Hey, customers, I'm going to do things with AI that's going to blow your mind. Now, you got to trust me, I'll do it. But if I do it, it's going to be so incredibly valuable. We're not going to really have a conversation about price. It'll be too valuable for you not to buy. That's what you should be saying. Don't say, I'm going to innovate, and by the way, you're going to give me 30%. Don't even do that. It's like, I hate to say it, you sound like a cheap date in a bar. It's a guy in a bar trying to pick up a girl. Hey, babe, this is going to be so good. Boy, that's not going to get you very far. So I think that the trick for SAP and AI is going to be to really leverage this enormous quantity of business data and business knowledge that it has, and use that as a foundation for modeling better decision making, better decision support, and other capabilities. And I think they can do that. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen, in 1 quarter or 2, despite the hype cycle, because fundamentally that business data has to be as clean can be, and a lot of the ERP historical data sucks and bad. That being said, there's a lot of potential there, a huge potential. I've seen it. I've done projects in this domain with other vendors of looking at, at optimizing supply chain operations, starting with using historical data to build the model that then you use to provide the answer to the question, what is my most constrained part, and how do I fix it, is a great kind of AI problem to solve it. I think SAP is going to do a really good job of that. I think they can do across all the different domains. Again, the nice thing about SAP as an AI vendor is that you take these complex supply chains. SAP's got product and data in almost every part of it. So if you want to really model the optimal experience for selling a product to a customer, where that customer's over here, and again, we're at the beginning of the value chain, we're extracting ore out of the ground. That visualizing that is going to be something SAP does better than most. If they got to get that act together, and they got to not overhype it in the beginning and not play this innovation cost.
That's the part. If they can get it out, so why not why always going, so I reap my revenue before I show your value? Why not the other way around? I participate in the value created.
That would be logic. That would be love.
You're waiting to use that all day, haven't you, Ralph? Admit it.
It's probably even more profitable.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard to scale it at the individual level. You know, and I think, but you're absolutely right. And I think that, this is going on. It's not being publicized as well as it should be. And that's part of the problem. I mean, a lot of these pronouncements about AI and innovation are really for, unfortunately, the number one customer of SAP, which is Wall Street, and not necessarily for numbers 2 through 20,000, which is the actual people who buy the software. So I think that, when you shift perspective away from just trying to make Wall Street happy every quarter, there's a lot of really good stuff that SAP is doing and can say, and they just got to get their foot out of their mouth
and get them to say,
metaphorically speaking, and get up there and say it, because the value's there. It's there. It's incredible. It's real. They are an innovative company. They got stuff to offer. It's good. It's just,
and it is crazy if you see into what we had with the not given love to a partner with a smart solution. There was the modelizer approach, which was highly seen, extremely valuable, using before ChatGPT and other artificial intelligence approaches, a so precise model that at that time, when SAP was still in Russia present, they could do showcases which were with non-AI predictions so precise that you really could make a bet on it and win. Yeah. So I would love to see that knowledge is not neglected but shown, and that could become for free. Yeah. And then the story is, if you want more, we can deliver more, but then we would love to get a little extra. Yeah.
Because we'll show you the value. You won't care.
Yeah, genau. Benefit selling. It's called in the sales trainings. Yeah.
I keep reminding everybody, particularly people who think that it's all about, the real decisions about buying technology are very rarely about the actual price of the software. That's not. I mean, if you're down in the small, mid-size, yes, it makes a difference what Acumatica or Zoho is going to charge me versus Salesforce. We get that. But in the enterprise, the large enterprise, value is a bigger seller than price. And that's again, those are more complex conversations to have. But they're the ones that matter the most.
You put it on the right point. Your people, your customer will love you more and will buy more when you can deliver that. That's the story.
It's sort of silly. I mean, all of us, the four of us, right? We're sole proprietors. What do we do every day? We sell value. We don't sell. I mean, my name is a nice name. I like the name Josh, but that's not what's going to make somebody want to do business with me. I have to prove that I'm selling. They have value in the relationship. There's no other choice. A big software company has other screws, other levers that unfortunately they turn that deviate from this concept of my real job here is to deliver value. And if I do a good job, you're going to pay me for it and we're all going to be happy. It's a pretty basic equation. It's just, it gets lost in the Wall Street shuffle, unfortunately.
In the context of time and acknowledging that we are on top of the hour, well, almost 20 seconds left. Let's get into our ritual of famous last words or famous last question. What I think is we didn't cover one topic at all, which I'd like to get a short statement from you. And so what SAP is all about. SAP is quite.
Yeah, really.
Don't
ask me about my love life.
No pressure at all. So SAP usually they are about choice. Right. So part of this choice is choose your hyperscaler. which is a strength as well as, well, I'd actually say a problem, not a challenge, a weakness. In how far would it be sensible, useful for SAP to become a hyperscaler on their own?
And we all know, this is what Zoho does. They,
Oracle too, Microsoft,
Oracle too, right? I think it's going to happen. I think more and more it's going to be part of, it has to be part of the package. They can't be the unique hyperscaler. I think for public cloud, ironically, I don't think it's the right fit. I think it's more for their private cloud where they should be the hyperscaler. We might have an interesting debate some hour in the future about that. But I think more and more when you look at how do you drive value again, you want to have that degree of control. Having said that, the one thing SAP has that no one else has, including the hyperscalers, is this combination of cloud ALM, Signavio, now LeanIX, DataSphere, and BTP. And when you put all those things together, particularly the ability of cloud ALM to manage the telemetry of an implementation and a functioning system, as well as the ability of Signavio to model process, LeanIX to model infrastructure, you can be SAP and not own the hardware and deliver more value than you could if you were just the hyperscaler who didn't have those tools. So I think it may be possible for SAP to look at that tool set. And Christian called it out in the call last week, and I was happy to hear that finally, because that's a real asset no one talks about. But the ability to manage that complexity from literally the conference room pilot through go live and into the renewal of the value and the innovation, that may be more valuable than actually being the hyperscaler itself. So it may be that they don't have to make that huge investment in data centers in order to be a much more sophisticated partner than any hyperscaler can be today. That may be a good way to get out of here before SAP shoots me, right?
It's almost perfect.
Oh, no. Lovely.
We want them to. We don't want them to shoot.
No. We love each other. It's
We want to engage with us proactively.
Josh, we want to have you back in one piece. So,
somebody was trying to cut me off earlier, but I think
two times, 3 times actually.
That was my son.
For example, when you reiterated what one can learn from Mark, so you got cut off again, right there and then.
Lining up to shut you off.
Yeah.
I didn't say anything about Satya yet, did I? No. Or Larry. we could just.
Yeah.
But the interesting part is, Josh, what is so refreshing is that we come to a perspective that there is a lot of positive stuff going on. There is a lot of movement, a lot of potential. And if the love is shared together with the existing money and knowing what LeanIX can deliver, I see them on a positive track. And LeanIX would nicely go into some new stuff to tell a fabulous CX story coming up.
Oh, yeah. No, the combination is brilliant. So, yeah. Okay, we'll go over that next time. Thank you very much for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you for joining us.
And thanks to everybody who we didn't scare off.
Yeah, and stay safe and join us next week, Tuesday.
Is it Tuesday? Okay. All right, guys.